is Gina, and I am here today to do a little restorative flow with you, something that will give you a little ease and freedom in your breath during this time. We're going to do some with props. If you don't have these props, you can make do with just a blanket and just maybe keeping some pillows nearby so that you can prop yourself up if need be. So to start, we're going to come to lay on our backs, and I want to support the lower back, and you can do that with a yoga block underneath you. And if you don't have a yoga block, a bolster, or even just taking a blanket and folding it in half and just giving yourself a little bit of a lift underneath your hips. The restorative sequence that I'm going to share can be done visually. You can watch me move into the different poses so that you understand the alignment and the structure, or the kind of structure of the alignment of the pose. Or you can choose to actually just listen, because I will guide you through moving in and out of the pose and all of the breath work within the pose as well. So to start today, we're going to come to lie onto our backs with just a little bit of support underneath the spine and then some support underneath your knees as well. So as I bring my blanket out in front of me, I'm going to open the blanket up, rolling it. It could be tight roll. Right, and this can be used several ways up and down your spine. It could be lower back, mid back, upper back, or for today we're going to use it along the spine. So it's supporting the spine so that the outer body can surrender, which is really what we're trying to do in restorative practice, right? We're supporting our attachments, we're supporting our joints so that we can allow ourselves to feel held enough that maybe we let go like we never have before. And when we let go in this way, right, this way of like not trying to let go, but we create the conditions for it to happen, when that happens, we kind of understand a new state of relaxation, a deeper level of being able to calm our nervous system, and ultimately that gives us more energy as we move through our lives. So as you can see here, I'm supporting myself under the knees. It doesn't have to be with blocks, right? You can move towels underneath there, pillows underneath there. What I don't want is them so far open that it's creating too much of a pull on the inner groins, nor do I want them so high up that it feels pinched here. So you want to be able to feel like the legs can relax so that the femur bones can release towards the back of the sockets, allowing the pubic bone and the tailbone to release down. So I'm going to bring blocks in. And then I take the blanket pretty close to me. I like to actually take the edge of the blanket and bring it as close towards my tail as I can. And then from there, I'll inch myself back, and moving the blanket to accommodate my spine. It may not feel even because for 99 to 100% of us, we're not, right? So feeling like you can allow your weight to drop onto the blanket, and then just kind of noticing the lean from side to side, or where it may not feel balanced for you. You can make some minor adjustments so you feel like you can surrender on both sides of the spine into both hips. And then from here, the head, we want to make sure that the chin isn't smashed in and the head is lifted up. But we want to create a channel for the prana to travel up to. So I like to take my thumbs right to the jaw line from here, and then I bring my pointer fingers, my index fingers right behind at the base of the skull. And I'm lifting the base of the skull up as I just pull back toward the jaw. And then you can settle down from there. And then as I let go, my chin just kind of naturally floats up. I'm not lifting so far up that it's closing the back of the neck either. Now, a few reasons that you may feel like you can't adjust the neck or find that place of ease ease where the back of the throat is open might be shoulder tightness. Okay? So if my shoulders are forward and up, it's going to throw my head back. Okay? And even the opposite, it might lift my up. Right? So we may need to support a little bit higher underneath your shoulders or your chest if that's happening. So I can take the blanket here and readjust it quite a bit, right? So that the blanket hits more on the shoulder blade line, right? And then I'm bringing myself over. And then from there, right, I obviously would need some other support. Or I can let my head come back from there. So I've lifted my chest a little by folding it under and in, which then took the shoulders from here to here, which then allowed the neck to release. And bring the legs back. Nice to take your hands right to the top of the thighs. Part of my lap. And then I'm going to press the thighs away. So I'm creating almost a suction or release up. So as my thighs drop down, I'm able to kind of free the diaphragm of the breath. And as we get tense and tight, right, stress, all that's happening, this is what happens. We're going to create that opposite effect. And then from there, you can take one hand to your belly, one hand to the heart. And think of the breath filling up. So I'm going to inhale here into my left hand. And exhale out. It's actually sometimes helpful even to start with both hands, right? To not confuse, or if it feels like it's too much, to separate. Just letting the breath expand and release into the belly just to bring your awareness down. And as you do that a few times on your own, kind of working the muscles of the lower belly, the abdominal muscles, pushing them out as you inhale, just making it almost a more obvious reference point. Retraining ourselves in some ways to not pull in as we inhale, but to expand out. And it's really similar to what we're doing in our mindfulness practice when we notice our mind wander. Right? We kind of train the muscle of the mind. We exercise it by bringing it back. So that it starts to find its own even and balance. And that's what we're going to do in this time. Take a few more breaths here on your own. Because we want to start to notice where our mind is going in this time, and it's going to go. Okay? But it's how much energy we give it, and what kind of energy. So allowing yourself to stay grounded in the important things, right? Self-care. Gentleness towards the others, but sending compassion out so that it helps you release your stress in. And you continue to breathe here, separating the hands again, referencing the lower belly and the chest, breathing up into the chest and exhaling from the chest down. And you take the hands to the side ribs, bringing your thumbs around the back of the rib cage. And inhaling, and you can stay laying down, just inhaling into the back ribs. So I'm going to inhale into the back ribs, move my hands so that you can see. build the breath, first breathing into the back ribs, then breathing into the side ribs, and breathing into the front body, into the chest, and into the collarbones. And then exhaling, letting the breath, just like a lever that you release, so it's slow from the top all the way down. When you empty, it's not a hold at the empty, right? It's a place where you can relax into the space of emptiness. And in that pause, you find kind of a deeper level of letting go. So taking a few breaths like that, breathing into the back ribs, into the side ribs, into the front ribs, into the chest. And then as you exhale out, exhaling from the top all the way down. And keep doing this for a few more breaths. So the next pose we're going to come into is actually child's pose, restorative, which is not an easy restorative pose if you have knee issues. If you are tight in the back of the legs. So I'm going to bring a bolster in front of you. I'm going to separate my knees on the blanket and sit back. If I can't sit back, I can add. I have a meditation cushion to add underneath my seat here. If you have some extra blankets or a pillow, you can add that. I'm bringing the bolster in very close to me. Okay? I want to feel that my whole front body is supported by the bolster, so from the lowest part of the belly all the way down. So I don't want to come into it rounded, right? But instead, I'm lifting up and over the bolster. I'm going to turn my head to one side, walk my elbows out. Finding a place that my shoulders can rest. And once in this place, you can stay there for a little longer, right? Again, setting your timer for 10 minutes. The front body represents what we kind of move out into the world. And so by allowing ourselves to surrender that on top of the bolster, it allows us to be able to not feel like we have to defend, but we really are allowing the back of our body, the place that we trust, that feels supported for us, to allow that kind of always looking out, maybe even some fearful place, to surrender a little, to almost feel held as we breathe. And so try to find a place where it's supportive for your knees, right, if you need to prop up underneath your seat. And then in maintaining this pose for a little longer, I'm just going to guide you through some breathing into the back of the body. So allowing that space to open, to feel some breath, so that you can surrender even more into the pose. So with yourself down into the pose, start to allow yourself to breathe into your lower back. I'm just going to come into it again here, right? And then after your awareness moves into your lower back, so to breathe into the back of the rib cage, the back of the waist, the kidney area a little bit more. And then take a few breaths right behind your heart. breathing behind the heart, the space that is between the shoulders. Get a picture of the shoulders there.
Mm-hmm.
And really finding the space of breathing into the shoulder blades. And so kind of taking yourself into those three areas again, or take yourself through these three areas of breath, so breathing into the lower back, right, that diamond shape. So allowing yourself to breathe into the lower back, the triangle shape. And then from there, breathing into the kidney area and into the back of the ribs, letting your breath wrap around into the side ribs. So you start to feel that the solar plex, the front of the body, that space where the rib cage meets, can surrender as you fill the back of the ribs with breath. And then from there, allowing the last part of your breath to really be from behind the heart. So finding some breath right between the shoulder blades. And so staying here to breathe into those three areas. And you can feel your exhale move down in that way. Staying in this restorative child's pose for 10 minutes, you can set your timer. If you need to come out earlier, of course, that's always possible. You want to make sure that you're feeling at ease in these poses. But allow yourself some time to not breathe, right? Allow yourself some space to work with breathing into the back body that we went through, but then just seeing where your natural breath goes to. Right? So allowing the restorative pose to find a new reset for your breath. A new place, a new rhythm. And then after this pose, we're going to come into just one more restorative pose before we move into relaxation. And that pose is bringing your right hip up to the bolster. Turning your chest. And I'm trying to line up the center of my chest with the center of the bolster, right? So that I'm thinking in the same way I line my spine up when I put the blanket underneath the spine. I want to make sure that I'm not twisted to one side, but I'm as centered as I can be. And it's a little deeper twist to turn the head away from the knees, right? So if it's uncomfortable, I can keep my head this way turning towards the knees. I'll just come to lay down. Walk your arms out. And if this is a big kind of lift in the shoulder, you may need a little blanket or prop to support underneath your elbow here. So even if my head is turning in the same direction of the knees, I want to try to turn the chest as far that way as I can. Right? So I'm not letting my whole body just stay on this side, turn to this side. But I'm still turning my chest into the twist, even if I need to take my gaze towards the knees. And you can adjust the neck a little bit, right? Noticing if your chin is too tucked or too lifted. And then scanning your body and seeing, how am I holding myself up? And is that necessary? Where am I on guard where I can let go a little bit more? And it's when we let go in that way that we can find healing. Or maybe just a little break for our nervous system for the moment, right? So staying in this restorative twist, I would set the timer for 5 minutes on each side. You can pause at this point and do that. And breathing with the twist for a few breaths so that you feel yourself kind of actively turning the spine. And then when you find that place where you meet a little bit of an edge, where it feels like you have to take a moment to adjust and relax into it, then that's the place that you just work to relax into the space with your breath a little bit more. We're allowing, in restorative poses, it's not the movement that opens up the channels, right? But it's actually the letting go of the muscles, of the restrictions that opens the channels. So it's a very different level of healing that's happening here. It's not something that you can push. It's not something that you can try to achieve in the same way that we do in our more active practice. And so with that, go ahead and set the timer for the other side, and then we'll come to Shavasana from here. So for Shavasana, I suggest just simply either taking the bolster underneath the knees, and it can be done like this, with a little support underneath the feet. It can be done just flat like this. You can take 2 blocks and put it underneath and support the bolster up. I want to try to find a place where I'm not too tucked under, right? Nor am I allowing my spine to arch so much that I feel like I'm pushing my front body out, right? Just want to find a place where I can allow the front ribs to relax down. And the weight is a little bit more kind of down below the top of the sacrum so that the top of the sacrum can naturally rest in. I want to feel that my legs are not turned out so much that the femur bones can't relax down into the sockets. But the more I let them release in, I can allow the groins to deepen and the pubic bone to drop. You can also always do legs up the wall, which is a great restorative pose, up any wall or onto the couch. Right, that's fine. And the same principles would apply. I don't want to flatten out, right? Nor do I want to just drop my weight forward. But how can I support the sacrum so that I feel like I'm engaging from the inside out and can let go into that space? And for Shavasana, closing the eyes, scanning your body, starting with the feet, to the legs, the knees. Just by observing, we create a change. Just by saying, let go, we can send that message. Just paying attention to each part of your body, letting yourself visualize as you move through the hips, into the seat and into the belly, allowing those places to drop, and into the ribs. And I always notice that when I bring my awareness to my chest and I release there, there's an automatic deeper inhale that wants to happen before I can settle the breath down. Set your timer here for 10 minutes. Even though we deeply rest in restorative yoga, we oddly leave our practice feeling, well, actually, I should do it this way, rolling to your right side, pressing your left hand down, keeping your head hanging as you slowly inch yourself up to sit. And take a moment of gratitude, bringing the hands in front of the heart. Maybe bringing up one thing. You can look ahead, right? Because looking ahead is something that we habitually do. Maybe you can look ahead to one thing within the chaos of everything that is happening today in our lives, one thing that you're grateful that's going to happen. Maybe it's spending more time with your children. Maybe it's a level of introspection that you need. Maybe it's being helpful in some way that you weren't before. But just having one thing that as you look forward, you're grateful for, that you can dedicate your practice to. We'll bring our hands in prayer. And bowing forward. Thank you for joining me today. Namaste. I hope to see you soon in person, and I will see you virtually again very, very soon.